Hi, Glenn Crouter here. Thank you very much for listening to Head for the Hills, all brought to you by our good friends at eWool. They have a product that nobody else, believe me. And we're going to do local stuff and destination this entire season. We are so looking forward to it, and I'm so looking forward to talking to you over the next 5 months. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the show.
An original
from Story Studio Network.
Well, here we are, back with Glenn Crouter, Head for the Hills, Story Studio Network podcast. Get you outside and blow the stink off you, basically. We've had some just killer guests on the show this season. And, you know, last time we talked, Glenn, you were in Austria and talking about feet of snowfall.
Yeah.
In a given day.
Yeah.
And, you know, the conditions there. I'm thinking of breaking out the Hawaiian shirt set right now as we record. It's going to be like 15 degrees in Toronto in February. I thought, what the heck's going on
It's
here?
crazy, man. It's all over the map. It's all over the map. Even in Austria, they were talking about it. And they needed snow. And that one day we got 70 centimeters. That's 7-0. We were in Lexers and then moving on to St. Anton. I've never seen snow come down so hard in my life. It was just pounding. It's like a rainstorm, but it was pounding heavy flakes. It was just incredible. I've never seen that before. Well,
and you know, I think we mentioned when you were describing it, that would have paralyzed us for a week here in this part of the world, right? And I was talking to, coincidentally, a guy in Sweden the same week, and he said they were getting similar kind of weather. And he said, I'm going to have to delay my cross-country skiing for 12 hours. Okay, you know how to live in that heavy snow. That's kind of cool.
It's part of life, man. It's a part of their life. They're used to it. And, you know, one guy said 70 centimeters. He said, we've had 100 in one day. Wow. I said, there's not in one day. That has to be over 2 days. He said, okay, maybe 48 hours. But nevertheless, it's incredible snow, especially up in the Alps. It's dry snow, so it's fluffy. It's really quite cool.
So I don't know that I'm going to make very good use of my eWool vest this week.
Haven't had to use it a whole bunch, let me tell you, but it's always nice to have it. And I took it to Austria, the gloves, the vest, and the slip-on sock, so to speak, and didn't have to pull them out. I must admit, it was pretty warm every day. We had about 3 days of snow and some pretty heavy winds, and then we had 7 straight days of bluebird days. So we kind of paid for it at the beginning, but nevertheless, at the end, it was just spectacular.
Well, I was talking to a friend earlier today, actually. He's up in North Bay, and he's an ice fisherman, and I should have mentioned that, you know, whether you're skiing or out on the lake doing your ice fishing in the winter, snowmobiling, maybe you're doing some of that construction work in colder climes, that's where the eWool vest comes in handy. And of course, they are good supporters of the program here at Head for the Hills. And so if you'd like to check it out, we would direct you to their website for all the eWool product at ewool.com. Okay, and you know, as we talk, with the weather being what it is in this part of the world in southern and central Ontario, all I could think of was, you know, here we are heading for the Family Day weekend as we record this. And I don't know if you need your downhill skis or your slalom ski to get in behind the boat the way things are going to go. But I know we've talked to a number of folks at the various resorts across the province here in Ontario, and they've got the snowmaking pretty much down to a real science and, you know, an art form. In fact, it makes some real innovation in terms of the technology, the conditions under which they're able to make snow. I'm blown away.
Truly, Dave. Like I was up this past weekend at Horseshoe Valley, and Jonathan Reid is going to join us in just 1 second, General Manager, Horseshoe Valley, and Vice President of Freed Hotels and Resorts, and I am blown away. Like, really, when I get up there, being away for about 10 days and really, not being around here, and then all of a sudden coming back and seeing the conditions. And I was really taken back. And Jonathan Reid, want to bring Jonathan on. We call him JR. JR, thank you very much for joining us on Head for the Hills. Much appreciated. And again, thanks for the weekend and joining you. And I saw you up there. And JR, I have to tell you, what is your secret sauce? Because other resorts are busy, but I get up to Horseshoe Valley no matter what the weather, no matter what time of year, and you're always packed. It's just fantastic.
Well, it's it's been a decent year for sure, and we're definitely fighting this whole weather system that seems to occur every other week. It's going from warm to cold to warm to cold. So Horseshoe's just a great spot. People love to come here. There's activities for the whole family, from staying on site to skiing, tubing, cross country skiing, stuff like that. So a lot of history here, and that we see a lot of great return business.
Jer, as I've mentioned before, I pretty well grew up at Horseshoe Valley with George Newton, Al Balding, Eric Hansen, everybody that was up there from Toronto, and of course my father in that mix. So I literally just had a blast up there all the time, and I'm always taken back when I get up there, and especially now you have some new snowmaking. And by the way, we have a lot of resort operators and owners that listen to this podcast, so maybe you want to share a little bit of your success. Why has it been that Horseshoe Valley, other than the fact it's been you, my friend, and I've said this many a time, you have changed the world at Horseshoe Valley for the good. And just the fact is, what have you been doing for the snowmaking, and a bit of investment at the beginning of the year, I understand as well.
Yeah, well, we've got an awesome leadership team at Horseshoe that really is a big part of the success here. And this year we did a major investment in snowmaking, and this has been part of our master plan of snowmaking. And this year we were able to actually increase the number of guns on hills. So sort of the first phase was to add access to above ground water, and then piping infrastructure, and then we've gone with a semi-automated click system, which is it's called HKD, and really what it is, it's high density guns on the hill, and it allows you to fire up quickly when the temperature drops, maximize the snowmaking. We have about 100-foot spacing on every gun, so we can blow piles of snow every 100 feet. The groomers can come along and groom them out, and then continue blowing those piles. So snowmaking is about maximizing those small windows of cold temperatures that we get in Ontario.
When you battle the warm, the cold, how does that affect the snowmaking? How does that affect the hills? I didn't see one bare spot, and you've gone from, as we talked about earlier, 10 degrees down to -5. How do you maintain that consistency with the snow so you don't see any bare spots, and you still got some really good conditions that, again, I was totally surprised at on the weekend.
Yeah, again, it's the reinvestment of the snowmaking. Having that kind of system on majority of our runs now is really what it's all about. Grooming equipment is very sophisticated now, so the groomers can really spread the snow around equally. The tilling systems on the machines are fantastic. They'll break up any of the ice. And then we're lucky in Horseshoe Valley because we're positioned sort of in line with in the snow belt right off of Georgian Bay, and we have this unique sort of valley here that captures the snow, and we're fairly sheltered as well. So we do retain a good mixture of natural snow with the man-made snow as well.
Jared, one time I thought maybe you were going to close I can only say to the left, the furthest chair. Is that chair 5 or chair 6?
Chair 6 furthest to the south end, yes.
Okay, then you reinvested some snowmaking and things. Tell us a little bit about that, and you really have to have the backing of your of Freed Resorts and Hotels for all this. There's no question about it.
Yeah, it's been great. Through ownership, we've been able to reinvest this year heavily. 2 years ago, we replaced a very old chairlift there. And these are some of the best runs that we have across the resort. They're very naturally treed in a beautiful area to ski. So we put in a new fixed grip quad PAMA lift, and then we added the new HKD click system, and that's just really given us the ability to again fire up the snowmaking very quickly and great coverage across the hills. So we've done a significant amount of the terrain, and our plan this summer is to continue doing that, and ultimately, it's the race to get everything open for the Christmas holiday.
Yeah. Now we've got the Family Day weekend coming up. I was there this past weekend, and there's cars everywhere because you have so many things to do. Again, just slow down, tell people if you're not a skier, because you have a fantastic inn right there. You've got condominiums, you've got all sorts of accommodation. So there's, I don't know about this weekend, but nevertheless, let people know what you've got, because if you're not a skier, this is your playground. This is the place you should be.
Yeah, we've really focused on having something for everybody, the entire family. So if it's if it's not just skiing, then we've got the refrigerated hockey rink right at the base of the ski hill, which is next to the our large patio space where we have 2 outdoor patio bars and snack shacks, and we have fire pits going every day. So we really embrace that outdoor Canadian winter experience. Across the road, we're adjacent to the Copeland Forest, and we have our cross-country skiing facility there. We have 40 kilometers of groomed cross-country trail. We have fat biking trails, which are the mountain bikes with the big fat tires that you ride in winter.
Yeah.
So beautiful experience through the Copeland Forest. And then also snowshoeing is a great activity for people to get out and experience. Beyond that, we have Yamaha Adventures, with snowmobile tours right at the top of the resort. And then the new Veta Spa as well, which is a Finnish spa that's just opened, which is a phenomenal facility. And that's right at the top of the ski hill as well. So, and then on top of that, we've got a number of condos and our main hotel for accommodations. So you can come and stay, make your own meals, or you can dine in one of our restaurants, which we have the Crazy Horse Sports Bar and Grill, which is really that traditional ski resort atmosphere. And then we've just launched what we call 1101 Stone Oven Pizza, which has been a huge success and really popular with guests staying with us to get these pizzas are amazing. They go through a press and into the stone oven, and it's like a thin crust pizza. So that's been great. And on the other exciting side is that we've just launched 198 units condo building that we hope to break ground on in the summer of 2023. And we've sold about 50% of the units. And so we're really excited about this building because, as you said, there's always a lot of people around. And one of our biggest challenges is having accommodations available on the weekends.
That should be the Head for the Hills headquarters. We'll have to talk to you about that, JR. And also, just want to mention, you've got, I really was blown away when I took a little shot at your snow tubing. Tell us a little bit about that.
Snow tubing is an amazing activity. It's growing in popularity. It's one of those things, anybody can do it. And I remember I hadn't snow tubed it. I'd never gone snow tubing until a few years ago. And so I decided to go down this hill with my son. And you feel like you've just fallen off a cliff for the first couple of seconds of the ride, and then it rolls out and drops again. And it's a great experience. And literally we call it all skill and no thrills. So,
and also it's the longest snow tube park in Ontario as well. And that's really the extent to, if you can have that little extra bit of run at the end, it's really spectacular. March break is coming up, past the obvious of the Family Day weekend. Should people start planning now for March break?
Yeah, I think with the challenging weather we've had this winter, a lot of people haven't taken their ski vacations or their ski trips. So we're anticipating a very busy March and March break. So I would recommend that if anybody's thinking of planning a getaway, then make your reservations now. And as I said, we're firing up snowmaking again tomorrow night. So we're going to have a lot of snow on the hills and the tube park and everywhere. So the forecast is really looking like winter's going to set in here finally halfway through February. So we also have a great lineup of events. We're hosting several North American Championship snowboard events and national snowboard championships as well. So across all disciplines. So tons of excitement to see some of the best skiers and snowboarders in the world either training here or competing throughout the month of March.
You know, when you talk about the importance of that snowmaking facility, the regime of, you know, including it in, I'm assuming you include it in your planning every season. How much conversation is there among the various resorts that require or rely on that kind of technology? I was reading a story before Christmas because when we first started the season, again, snowmaking was an issue at the end of November, beginning of December. And I found a story out of the Northeast states saying that there's technology that if you needed it, you could make snow in 70-degree Fahrenheit weather. So at some point, the innovation has really taken off. I'm not suggesting for a second that you want to do that, but this has become really a leading edge technology I don't think that we fully appreciate. And I wonder to what degree do you guys share notes in terms of this really worked well, so that, you know, or best practices elsewhere where they're needing that kind of support?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's interesting because the Ontario ski resorts, as much as we compete against each other on a day-to-day basis, we're all fairly close, and we all belong to the Ontario Snow Resorts Association, and there is a lot of communication and best practices. And the reality in our industry is when one of us is busy, we're all busy, because it's during those peak holiday times and whatnot. So, and we share a lot of best practices in safety, snowmaking, lift operations, some great relationships out there that, for instance, we align on lift products we purchase, so that if one resort has a lift go down and they don't have a part in stock, then the other resorts can share to get that lift going. So it's a great relationship in Ontario, and we're always sort of working together as an industry to you know, what is the best experiences and best practices within snowmaking and everything else. So yeah, it's a great tight knit community.
Yeah, I wondered whether or not that would be the next iteration of Dave Grohl's, you know, it was made in Canada routine, where, you know, by the way, we invented really great snowmaking, and we need to add that to a Super Bowl ad. Have you had staffing issues? Because we've heard from some of the resorts where, you know, back after COVID, it was harder to kind of get the folks back into a routine, staffing the teams again, getting people in, whether it was full or part-time jobs.
Yeah, we definitely went through our challenges over the last few years with COVID and then post-COVID. Luckily, we're positioned between sort of Barrie, Orillia, Midland, so there's large populations around us. We also have a large community with a lot of retired people and then also young families. So we're lucky to have a lot of those families and young people working on our seasonal roles in the winter and summer. It was really the challenges were in the specialty roles. So kitchen staff, so certified chefs, sous chefs, lift mechanics, any of those certified certificate roles that you require. And we've actually this winter season really seemed to have come out of that, where we've got a great lineup of lift mechanics here now. And I was just heard from our human resources department that we're taking down our ads for the kitchen, for kitchen help. And so that was a great relief. So I think we're finally coming out of the woods of COVID here and everything else and balancing out again.
Speaking to Jonathan Reid, General Manager at Horseshoe Valley and Vice President of Freed Hotels and Resorts. Jonathan, has anything surprised you at all this year? I know we're coming through COVID, as you mentioned. We're just coming out the other side of COVID. Has anything really caught your attention to go, wow, this is incredible, something for the future?
Well, one thing we're really noticing is that the boom of COVID that happened with the recreation industry. We just saw a boom of the people really started to consume the things that you could do during COVID. So you couldn't go to the movies, you couldn't go to the mall, but you could go skiing, you could go snowshoeing. We're hearing stories of retailers that were selling thousands of paddle boards, and now they have overstock of things like paddle boards. Things like roof boxes and roof racks for skiing and biking and things like this, where they were just you couldn't get those items, and now there's some overstock of them. So I think we're seeing a leveling out. We've noticed still a growth pattern from 2018, 19, 20 in line with 2023 that we're still growing, but there was definitely a huge standout year in 2022. Yeah. Of people consuming outdoor recreation.
As we wind up here, Jonathan, tell us a little bit about your lift system. Everywhere you go in Austria and Europe and everywhere, a lot of places in the States, you have the same technology at Horseshoe Valley.
Yeah, we've gone with the top European providers, Pomogalski lifts, which is better known as Poma. We've got a new high-speed six-pack chair in. We've got a new fixed grip quad. We have a new newer carpet lift in. And then planning to expand the beginner area with some new Poma lifts as well. And they've done a great job for us, great provider. And I was just in Jackson Hole 2 weeks ago, one of the largest resorts in North America, and they're all Poma lifts as well. And so it was great to see that we're in line with the biggest resort operators in North America with the infrastructure we're putting in.
Again, you're asking people to book in advance because I know kiosks, opposed to buying tickets as we did before, kind of the long lines. All of a sudden now you've got the kiosks you can buy in advance. Is that paying off? Is that something you're going to continue with?
Yeah, definitely. The RFID ticketing system's been a great addition. You basically get out of your car, scan your phone, a ticket card pops out, you put it in your pocket, and it scans the gates at the lift every run. So it really improves that guest experience. It increases the speed of lift lines, but it's really about getting you from your car onto the ski hill faster. Yeah, it really is great. And you know what? Of all people that used to stand in lines outside in cold talking to some people out there, it wasn't fun, and it took away from that experience. Now, as you mentioned, all you have to do, go on the website in advance. If you don't do that, you can show up in the kiosk and buy a ticket right on the spot, and that's so much easier, and it makes that experience so much more enjoyable. Jonathan Reid, Vice President of Freed Hotels and Resorts, also General Manager at Horseshoe Valley. Man, you have turned Horseshoe Valley around. I've said this before many times, but because of you, that's the place that it's now cool to be at Horseshoe Valley. It's now cool to work at Horseshoe Valley. It wasn't like that, I would say, maybe 7 years ago before you arrived. You've really turned things around, so congratulations on that. Thanks, Glenn. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, indeed. And I think, it's really kind of encouraging, Glenn, to watch the way the resorts have managed to not just survive, but thrive. Yeah. Because every story that we've talked to, whether it's Jonathan or anybody else at some of the resorts, they've all found, we're not cheering for COVID here, but this new ticketing system or the new way to actually get onto the hills is more efficient, or the way that we're presenting food, or some of the outdoor experiences on the patios and that kind of thing, where they were doing it out of necessity, now has just made it better for the business and certainly better for the folks who are using the facility. Well, everywhere I go and talk to people on the lifts and in après ski things, is that the ski experience now has improved 100%. And it's because of people like Jonathan Reid at Horseshoe Valley. They've got the Hooters over at Mount St. Louis Moonstone, John Ball over at Snow Valley, just to go on, and Terra Level over at Blue Mountain, etc. So people have realized that it's not just about skiing. And I've said this before many times, a mountain's a mountain's a mountain, especially when it comes to Ontario. When you go to Europe, they all look the same. You go to the States, the big mountains all look the same. Same with BC and Banff. So it's really the experience that you get, how you're treated, what the food's like. It's not just about skiing anymore. It's about the entire package. And again, Horseshoe Valley's led the way in that many areas. And there's not many places like this in Ontario, certainly with the accommodations, the hotels, everything they have to offer. You have to have a huge and major investment. Not everybody can do that. But nevertheless, the experience that you get when you get there, and it starts when we get on the property. You go buy your ticket, as you can do it at kiosks now. You go to the hotel. People are really nice. It's just an infectious environment for not only the people that work there, but for people that want to go and participate and have some fun as well. So I can just say that now, after the last couple of years, I've seen the skier experience just skyrocket because resort operators had to do it. Now they've got a little more money to do it because of the amount of people that have come out, but nevertheless, everybody's responding to it, and the future's only amazing, and that's why this has become so popular. Head for the Hills, and we'll be continuing again next year and growing. But these things are really popular now, and people are having fun skiing, and it's not just for one or two people. The whole family's going out, and it's probably the most expensive winter sport you can participate in, and people are still forking it out and having a good time. Well, on the other side of this is the economic impact for those communities. As Jonathan described, those surrounding towns rely on his success. Yep. In terms of their own economic development. So it's really a good news story, and it's nice to be able to, I know officially we're still in the pandemic, but to be able to we are building back better in that respect as we look at this moving forward. Listen, pal, enjoy your Family Day weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. Yeah, thanks a lot, Dave. Appreciate it. Our technical producer and audio editor for Head for the Hills is Mike Trutler. Our production manager is Jamie Nickerson. Our executive producer is Aaron Trafford. And our sonic logo designer is Greg McDonald. I'm Dave Trafford. Thanks for listening.
This
is SSN.